All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to this session for orientation for the master's program on the data science here at NYU. So first, a few very quick words about myself. So I'm Joan Bruna. I'm the acting director of graduate studies. I'm also associate professor of computer science, data science, and mathematics. I've been here in NYU for 6 years. And I'm mostly interested in aspects about machine learning, theory, and also applications in science. And so let me just start by, because this is an orientation for data science program. What is data science? And I guess the data science these days is like a word, like a discipline that really has transformed itself in the last years, in the last decades. Perhaps a little like from academically, it's something that really has its roots in statistics and many important. There has been many important let's say transformative events in the history of statistics that have kind of brought it more and more closer to data science. And perhaps my favorite like moment like that is like this very famous landmark work by Leo Breiman, who really kind of introduced like this need that basically he explained that there was a need to change some kind of culture in statistics and to take some of the the powerful ideas from statistics that are really based on this idea of modeling, of building mathematical models for the data, but one needed to also be a bit more pragmatic, right, and combine it with other disciplines. For example, like strategy, like techniques coming mostly from computer science or from like even like designing hardware or collecting metadata, right? And this is really one aspect in which data science has born, right? And it's really like the essence of data science, as we see it here, is really that it's a discipline that is at the crossroads of many things, right? And of course has roots in statistics, mathematics, but also now is like uncompromisingly also using other aspects from computer science and algorithms. And so today, data science is not just like an academic discipline. We see it as now like almost like a necessary component of economics, economy, including many covers in the Economist and many other places. And so, as I said, both as an academic discipline, data science is now really bringing and is an engine of innovation that across many disciplines, but also as a job, as you might see, data science is still like consistently one of the top occupations, at least in the US, right? And obviously all the new innovations in AI are just fueling also this this need for data science. So data science, the Center for Data Science at NYU is a center that is it's a provincial center, so it's not technically a department, but so to speak, it's almost acting as its own department. It was founded almost 10 years ago from researchers, like very prominent researchers at Cochrane Institute, in particular Yann LeCun and Gerard Benarous, and it has been directed by Julia Kemp since 5 years from now. The building where we are is actually also historic, right? Like in a sense, much older than data science itself. It's a building that is the Macmillan Building that actually has a very prestigious architects, right? It was like at the time where this building belongs to the small list of very famous important buildings in New York, and we are very happy and very proud to be in this building. CDS is also a place where you have wonderful people, and actually one of the main assets of the place and why you should consider joining us is its people. So it starts by having very wonderful staff who are actually running the program, keeping hold of the curriculum, and of course dealing with all the situation, with all the needs of the students. We have, as you see, like a very rich and growing PhD program with many PhD students who are really now pushing the boundaries of data science in academia, but also with many applications in industry. We have also like faculty fellows who are, again, people who are transitioning from a PhD to maybe academia or like leading industrial positions. And we have a lot of faculty, also like a growing faculty. I think it's, by the last count, it was like around 21 faculty. And our faculty it's kind of illustrating what I mean before, is really capturing this very peculiar position that data science is today in academia, which is really at the crossroads. Like it's really cross-disciplinary. And you can see here that we are basically capturing many aspects of this puzzle, right, of this map. We have people, many faculty, we have a core group that really develops methods and theory of machine learning and data science in general. We have a strong group that works in application in natural language processing, linguistics, presence also in politics, computer science, also, of course, very important, fairness, accountability, like the ethics behind AI is also a very core component of our program, etc., so on and so forth. Our master's program has reached now a steady state, right? So we have about 170 students that are joining us every year. It's a very selective program, right? So we have a pretty small acceptance rate. It's actually one of the most selective in the whole country. And this master's program, now that we have this, very healthy, steady state, what it means also is that over the years we have accumulated a very nice and powerful network of alumni who are now, have present in all the top companies that you could imagine. And of course, this is also like now one of the main assets, and we are very proud of that in the program. What are we kind of looking, or what would be like a good match between us and you, right? Like what are we looking, or why would you be interested in joining us prospectively? I think one of the main appeals that our program can offer you is that it really gives you like a very broad perspective in terms of career, right? So we are training our students to become top scientists in both academia or industry, if you are interested in research. And as I said, we are really putting an emphasis in this like cross-discipline, starting from methods, from applications. Then we also, of course, these days, data science is probably one of the first, let's say, sources of employment in many companies who work on like software engineering, like AI, machine learning is now used basically across many areas of engineering in these days. And of course, also entrepreneurship, right? Many of our alumni have gone into creating small companies, right? Based on in a sense, leveraging all the data science that we have learned here. What are we looking as in you, right? So what is the profile of students and candidates that have been historically successful in our program? First is technical proficiency. Okay, we are really not doing compromises in terms of the technical background, right? So you need to have actually strong track record in like let's say core technical areas in math, statistics, and computer science. For example, calculus, algebra, statistics, probability, data structures, algorithms. These things are basically forming the backbone of the program. We also, of course, want to see like a strong curriculum in undergrad, and I guess it's not surprise, when you see this like very low acceptance rate, that obviously your GPA needs to be strong. We also are interested in, we are sensitive, and for us it's very important to this component of diversity and inclusion, right? So we are making efforts to to permeate over all the pipeline of admissions process, really takes this thing into account. And then last but not least, we also want to see some kind of personal connection with the program, right? So like the narrative on why for you particularly makes sense to be in the program, and in what sense it's for you, it fits with your plans for career. So that's everything I had to say. Are there some questions? I don't know if Tina, we want to have the questions now or later, but I guess, yeah, happy
we can
to take questions.
Yeah, we can address the questions at the end, because some of the questions that they raised might be covered by me or Francesca later on. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So,
So,
yeah. So now maybe I can pass the hand to you and to Francesca. Anyway, thanks for being here. Yeah.
I hope everyone can see my screen. So this is the agenda for today. You just heard the welcome from the Director of Graduate Studies of Master's Program, Joanne Bruna. And then we'll go over CDS and the MS curriculum, admissions and application information, career placement and professional development initiative. Then we'll have a student panel and then Q&A. So I am Tina Lam. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Programs. Joanne kind of went over the faculty and staff. So this is more information with our titles. Julia Kyung-hyun are the Director and Deputy Director of the Center for Data Science. Joanne Bruna is the Director of Graduate Studies for the Master's Program. We also have Director of Graduate Studies for the PhD program and also the undergraduate programs. And you can find more information about the leadership and the staff with the links below. These slides and the recording will be shared on our webinar's webpage, likely later this week or next week, once we have it processed. So the images on the side, I actually pulled from our Instagram page, and you can see that the staff is divided into the operations team and the academics team. As you're researching the center and applying, you might be coming across responses from one of us. So I just wanted to put a face and their titles to the name. Remy is the Director of Administration and Operations. Catherine, who's also with us today, is the Director of Academic and Student Affairs. That's for both the graduate and undergraduate side. Tim is the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Programs, which is my counterpart. The Assistant Director of Graduate Programs. Francesca, who will be presenting in a little bit, is the Program Administrator for Academic and Student Affairs, and she advises students for both undergraduate and graduate. Ashley is our web designer and content creator, and she's the one who created these Instagram images and most of our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the content all comes from her. Chastity is the department administrator. Joshua, Tiffany, and Amy are our administrative aides who help us keep the 3 floors that we have in the building that Joanne had shared the photo of clean and orderly. And Joshua is also here with us today. And if you emailed us, you likely have received a response from Joshua previously. So the master's degree requires 36 course credits. Our courses are typically 3 credits each, so that translates to 18 course credits, 6 required courses. Introduction to Data Science, Probability, Machine Learning, Big Data, and then a capstone project and a 1 data science elective. The 1 data science elective gives you an option to choose from currently 10 different courses, and they're listed on our website, which is linked below. And then the remaining 18 credits are elective courses of the student's choice. Typically, students choose data science electives that are already approved that are offered by the center. But if there are options outside of CDS, whether it's from another NYU department or school, students may request to take it. We'll review the syllabus and make sure that it's data science related. So I saw that there were a couple of questions in the Q&A about this. We have, on the application, students are asked to choose a track. This is unofficial. It's not on the student's record or transcript, but it is internal to us. We use it to determine what courses students might be interested in taking. It's also a guide for students to help them select the elective courses that I just went over, the 18 credits. So students can choose data science general track, which has 3 general areas of interest: big data, mathematics, and data, natural language processing, or a biomedical informatics track. And the courses that fall under each of these tracks that can help students choose their courses are in detail on our webpage, which is also linked below. The industry concentration is an option for students. It is official, and on the transcript, it does have official requirements that students have to fulfill, which is the internship during the student's first year in the program, and 2 elective courses in the big data and or natural language processing. So our program is designed to be completed in 2 years of full-time study, typically 9 credits per fall and spring semester for 4 semesters. For domestic students, or if visa allows it, there is the option to complete the program on a part-time basis. This means less than 9 credits a semester. The degree does have to be completed within 5 years, even if it's part-time study. One thing to note is that required data science classes tend to be in the late afternoon or evenings, but that's not guaranteed depending on instructor availability, classroom availability, and other factors. And electives are scheduled throughout the day. So students who are considering part-time study and working full-time, their full-time job should give them the flexibility to be able to take courses during the day if needed. For admissions, we require some educational prerequisites. This is so that students all come in with the same foundation and can start the courses. These are also listed on our website. Students have asked if they've taken these courses under other titles, does that count? That does count, as long as the content of the courses are from a typical Calculus 1 course or linear algebra college level course, that will count. The application also requires valid GRE scores. We don't accept any waivers for this. We don't accept GMAT scores or experience or any other factors to waive this requirement. TOEFL IELTS is required for applicants who are not native English speakers or who do not have a bachelor's or master's degree from an institution where the language of instruction is English. This is the Graduate School Enrollment Services is the one who determines whether a university fulfills this criteria or not. So if you have questions about that, you can reach out to them, and I'll share the link later on in the slides. College transcripts, 3 letters of recommendation, and a statement of academic purpose. So there is a holistic review of applications, so there is no cutoff for the GREs. We do look at the other application components when reviewing the applications. The statement of academic purpose, you should state why do you want to study data science. Letters of recommendation, recommenders should describe how you stood out. A generic recommendation will not stand out as much as someone who really knows you. Program experience, Python is used most frequently in the program. Oh, sorry about that. And then the GSAS Application Resource Center, which is linked below, that's the webpage ending in arc.html, has a lot of resources on the application and frequently asked questions by applicants. So I highly advise applicants to look over the materials that they have there. We also have our own FAQ page, which is linked below, that may answer a lot of the frequently asked questions as well. So tuition information, students pay per credit as they are enrolling in the courses. So there is no lump sum that you pay up front. So the MSDS degree requires 36 credits, and the current tuition rate is available on the NYU Bursar's website. There's limited scholarships that are awarded post-admission. All applicants are considered. There is no separate application process or deadline. All applicants who submit the application by our required deadline will be considered for the scholarship. And then general financial aid information can be found on the NYU webpage linked. So the important dates, application is now open and can be found on the the GSAS Academic Resource Application Center that I had linked previously. The deadline for fall 2023 is 5 p.m. Eastern Time on January 22nd, 2023. We only admit in the fall semester. We don't have spring admissions. All materials, including letters of recommendations, are due, and we don't accept any updates to the applications after the deadline. There is no rolling admission, so if students, applicants can submit the application early, but it won't be reviewed until after the application deadline, and the decisions will likely be released around mid-March. Oh, and I'll pass it over to Francesca. Francesca, do you want to just cue me when you want to skip, or do you want to share your screen?
Oh yeah, I'll just say next slide. Thank you. Okay. So welcome everyone. My name is Francesca Jimenez, and I am the Program Administrator for Academic and Student Affairs here at CDS. So I'll be talking a bit about career placement and professional development. at CDS, and then we'll follow up with talking to a few of our students here so that you can have some more insight on what the program is like. Next slide. So first up, our goals for career and professional development at CDS is really to help students develop their professional skills and connect with companies and organizations for internships and full-time opportunities within the data science field. So we do this through a lot of different methods, including career advising. So that could be either meeting with one of the academic advisors, so that would be between Tina and I, as well as a consultant that we have that supports us here at CDS. We also do recruiting events and company information sessions. So those, I'll talk a bit more on the next slide, but essentially companies come in to recruit students and share more about what their company is and what their day-to-day is like. We also have career fairs, which are similar to job fairs, but on a smaller scale. And then we also have professional development workshops in which we also collaborate with the Wasserman Career Center at NYU to host opportunities for students to gain skills in developing their resumes, interviews. We also do this by collaborating with alumni who have graduated from the program and come back to volunteer and share their experiences with the students, things that they have learned after graduating that they feel could benefit the students in their own journey in obtaining a job. Next slide. So as I mentioned, one of the recruiting events is the company information sessions. So we have these usually weekly during the fall and spring semesters. So we bring companies from a variety of different industries to come share what their company is, what they do. Usually we'll have a representative from human resources as well as someone in a technical role, so in a data science position or something like machine learning engineer or something like that. And they really get into the details of what they do within the company and what the application process would look like for anyone interested in applying there. And then our career fairs, we try to host at least one each semester, and we bring in multiple companies that are currently recruiting for data science positions, whether they be internships or full-time positions. And this really gives students an opportunity to interact one-on-one with representatives from those companies, and also share their resumes and connect in a way that might not be possible otherwise through like general application processes. And then lastly, our professional development session. So as I mentioned, we connect with the Wasserman Center to do workshops like resume reviews, or just explaining what a good resume would look like for as students start the job search process. And then we provide interview resources and professional development opportunities in terms of communication skills. So this could look like mock interviews with alumni or workshops on SQL or Python, things like that, that would help support students as they're applying for jobs. Next slide. So here are just a few statistics for after graduation placement. So our most recent graduating class of 2022, we had 128 students graduate, and just a note that these are all based on self-reports, so we don't always receive the information from our graduating students. So this is just on the information that we have received. So out of those 128, 118 reported their post-graduation plans, and 74.58% had full-time job after graduation. And one student continued their education into a PhD program. Industry stats, more than 50% go into the tech industry, about 17% into finance, around 6% into biotech or healthcare, and other about 19%. And that includes like sports, media, entertainment, other industries that wouldn't fall in the more general category, the larger general categories. And then the salary range for these students after graduation ranged between $110,000 $10K to $240K. So just depending on the company that they go to work for, as well as the experience that they were able to report upon applying for those jobs. Next slide. So now we will hear from some of our current MS students. So I will welcome them to turn their cameras on so that we can get started with some questions. And then we will open up to some of the questions that we're receiving in the chat from attendees that are here. So could start off with introductions. So if we could have you all share your name, obviously, your pronouns, and your field of interest within data science. And then if you can also just share a bit about yourself, such as where you're from and where you went for undergrad, anything else that you'd like to share. So if I could ask Nikki, could you get us started?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki, and I'm a second-year student at NYU, obviously studying data science. And I'm originally from Iran. And what else was I supposed to mention?
Your field of interest.
Can you clarify what is field of interest? I wasn't completely sure what you mean by field of interest.
Yeah, like if you're interested in the tech industry or healthcare, anything like specific within data science that you are hoping to pursue after graduation.
For sure. I would say finance is my area of interest.
Awesome. Thank you so much. David?
Hey, everyone. My name is David Trachtenberg. My pronouns are he, him. I am from Chicago, went to U of I in Champaign and got a degree in aerospace engineering and haven't done that since. Maybe better for it. I've been very interested in responsible data science. We have a really good course taught by Julia Staunovich that if you get admitted to the program, I highly recommend you take. And yeah, would love to work in that capacity in industry after school.
Thank you, David. Ritika?
Hi, I'm Ritika. I'm a first-year data science student at NYU. Before this, I graduated from Grinnell College in 2020 with math and economics. And after that, I worked in economic consulting for 2 years before coming to NYU. And I would say the area of interest is probably tech or fintech, but I'm open to exploring, and hopefully next year I have a better answer.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, you've got some time to figure it out. Arthur?
Hey guys, I'm Arthur. I go by he, him, and I'm in my 5th and last semester of the program. I came from like a business consulting background, and I'm going to be going into product data science in tech.
Awesome. Thank you, Arthur. All right, so first question. So while our program is open to students from a variety of backgrounds, as some of you have shared already, that you might not have come like directly from a CS background or something like that. We do require students to complete math and programming coursework for admission. So could you share a bit, how important do you think this has been throughout your program to have some of that prior knowledge or experience before entering the MS program? So anyone?
Yeah, I think it's like very important. It's like 95% of the program. Every course has a programming aspect, and then most every course has some math component. So whether that be statistics or probability or linear algebra. So yeah, definitely really fundamental to get those basics down.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, anyone else? Ritika?
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I did not have much coding experience before coming in. And the classes are pretty fast paced. So I kind of revised some Python over the summer, and that really was useful. And I know it was useful because I didn't revise math over the summer, and I kind of wish I did. But yeah, I definitely think if you've taken a break from studying, like between undergrad and like coming to NYU, it would be really helpful to revise concepts.
So thank you. All right, next question. So we require students to, or applicants to submit 3 recommendation letters. How did you all decide who to ask for recommendation letters, especially if, you know, if you weren't coming directly from undergrad, or if you were coming directly from undergrad, like who did you choose, and how did you decide to choose that person?
So I can go ahead. Basically, what was important for me was someone who knows me very well. I think that's something that will really stand out in your letter of recommendation. And depending on how, or like when was your most recent interaction, like you might have worked very closely with someone in your freshman year, but like it's been a while since that. And also is third thing that I think is very helpful is like how they can bring a stronger background and profile for you in your application. So I took all of those into consideration, and I had some work experience in my undergrad for 6 months. So I was like 2 educational and then 1 work, kind of making it a full package.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, Arthur?
Yeah, so I had been out of school for like a few years at the point that I was applying already. So I had like a couple different ways of approaching it, which I'm not sure will apply to everyone. But one of the things I did was I had taken like supplemental coursework before applying because I didn't have all the like math and programming prerequisites. And I did that at like community college, and like I think the professors are pretty, like you can ask the professor of like a course that you've taken recently, and I think they're pretty understanding with those types of courses that like you're taking it for the requirements to do like another degree. The other thing that's important was like my other references were professional, and obviously like they weren't like data science like positions, or else I wouldn't be like going into the program. But I think what was important about those references was like they showed that they're managers that I was really close with. They showed that, you know, I'm eager and like curious, and I can learn things on the job like very quickly. So I think even if you don't think the experience is super relevant, if the manager is someone you have a really close relationship and they can kind of vouch that you're like intelligent, competent, curious, then I think like that could be a good reference for you.
Amazing, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with everything that has been said. The only like another strategy with asking for letters of recommendation would be to ask early, and then also make sure that the people you're asking actually like are able to submit it on time. I have like a professor who really knew me very well, but I knew that like she would be kind of like submitting the letter of recommendation late, which made me anxious. So I asked another like an extra person kind of as a backup in case the letters weren't submitted, which I think that's something that you should try to do.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Timing is of the utmost importance here. All right, so next question, and this is probably the most philosophical of them all. Why did you choose CDS out of all the other options you could have? Why NYU? Why CDS?
I guess I can go ahead. For me, in my undergrad, I studied computer engineering. Then I ended up in business analytics. So kind of similar fields, but also different at the same way. But what I thought it was missing from my experience is like business analytics is also similar, but I wanted that ML, NLP, like I saw the need for more information and more learning. So that's how I got into data science. And when I was looking at programs, at NYU's program, as mentioned earlier, it's very good. It has a very good reputation, faculty, courses, the whole package was something that I was very interested in. And that's why I chose the program.
Thank
I have a
you.
few things. One that is probably only so helpful, which is I chose it because it's in New York, and I have wanted to move to New York for a while. But I think there's a lot in that answer too. Like, there's a huge tech scene in New York. There's a lot you can engage with from in a data science capacity outside of NYU as well as within NYU. And then I think my other big thing was I knew the program has been around for a while, relative to other programs. And I knew that it was like mathematically rigorous. So while I probably won't be using a lot of this math after the program, I wanted to get like a good foundational base from which to like learn other things and grow in the field. And it's very mathematically rigorous, but I hope that I'm ultimately better for it.
Mhm. Thank you, David.
Yeah, I can talk about my reasons as well. So I had a couple of reasons why I wanted to go to grad school in the first place. So like one was making a bit of a career pivot. Like I mentioned, I was in consulting before, and so I wanted to, and I did some like analytics, but I wanted to make a full switch into data science. And I felt like a master's, especially with the like recognition that you get at CDS, would get you like better opportunities, or at least get your foot in the door for better opportunities. And I think that I would say that that has been the case, not only in the ways that Francesca described, but also like just a lot of the people you meet in the program, your friends can refer you, can help you prepare for interviews, can kind of show you positions that you might want to apply to, and I think that's been super helpful. And then the second reason is similar to David's, was like I wanted a level of rigor in my study, which I didn't think I'd be able to get on my own or at like the other options that I had, which this program I felt like covered more of, like just in terms of being mathematically rigorous. And like one example is that I don't only want to, like I mentioned, I was going into product data science. So like, I don't only want to understand A/B testing, but also like a general concept of hypothesis testing that can apply to a lot of different things. And this semester, I'm also taking mathematical statistics, which is understanding those concepts at an even more like fundamental mathematical level. And I think just understanding the topics more deeply allows you to be more versatile and apply it to different places. And the cool thing about CDS is also like a lot of times the courses that you're taking, you're literally reading like the papers from the professors themselves. So you're actually studying from people who are like advancing the field. And yeah, I mean, it's a really unique opportunity.
I can add to everything that has been said. I think I agree with what both Arthur and David pointed out, that CDS does have a rigorous math-based curriculum, which really appealed to me. I also wanted to kind of switch into data science without just being like a buzzword data scientist, and actually like know what the models are, understand how they came about. So that was one major reason. The other reason is that CDS core curriculum is designed really well. I kind of looked at the syllabus before applying for all these classes, and I really liked it. But at the same time, there were enough classes that I can take outside of the core. And usually if a program had a really well-designed core curriculum, they didn't have that many options to be taking other classes. So that was a major reason. And the other one would be that CDS has really good career outcomes, and I'm interested in working in the industry after graduating. So kind of like all of these things coming together, it being in New York made it like a perfect kind of package. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, one more question, and I think we have a few in the Q&A. But any other tips that you would give someone who is interested in applying that you think would be helpful for them throughout that process? You know, it's been a few years for some of you at this point. Ritika, it was pretty recent for you.
Yeah. I think in terms of applying, I would say just keep an eye on the timeline. Like usually around November, December, all the applications open up and it can get overwhelming. So one thing I made sure was that I had already given the GRE, so that's kind of out of the way. And then ask the letter of recommendations way in advance. And just start working on your statement of purpose. It doesn't have to be perfect in the first draft. I put a lot of pressure on myself, thinking that I'd just type up a perfect statement of purpose. And of course, that's not the case. So just start working on these 3 materials is the general advice.
Mhm. Anyone
I
else?
guess I can add on to what Ritika said earlier about letter of recommendations. It's good to be early and definitely making sure that the people you're asking for know what's your deadline. My recommendation, you can mention couple days earlier just to make sure that you get it on time for the deadline. And I think it's a very important part of the application because the rest of the parts you can work on it on your own, but making sure you have good letter of recommendations and backups for it is very important.
Mhm. Agreed. There's one topic that keeps coming up in the Q&A, and it's really about your statement of purpose. So a lot of applicants, prospective applicants are asking, what were some things that you focused on in your statement of purpose? Did you focus specifically on, the field that you're interested in, or was there something that you feel made you stand out in your statement of purpose?
Yeah, I can go ahead.
Mhm.
And obviously, I can't say for sure what got me in, but
Right.
this is what I think. In my statement of purpose, I think it's good to, I think it might have been mentioned on the slides, it's good to have a narrative. And I don't think that's something to, I think even when you're applying to jobs, when you're applying to anything, it's really good to show that you have a clear goal. You have steps to achieve it. How does this program fit into that? And then kind of not only just saying that, but demonstrating that with some of the actions that you have in your resume. For example, I mentioned I want to make a career pivot. I mentioned that I wanted a more mathematically rigorous education. So I talked about different things. Well, on my resume and in my statement of purpose, I had a personal project. I had initiatives at work that I did around machine learning and data science. I also had even though I wasn't in a data science role, I did have some work experience building models where I found an application to do so. So I guess just thinking about how you can show your passion and how this MS kind of helps you get closer towards your goals. I think those are important to say.
Mhm.
I don't remember my statement of purpose, unfortunately. It's been a while,
Yeah.
a whole pandemic ago. But if I could give advice, I would say that I think it's a common trope that data science is multidisciplinary. And I think CDS does a good job of representing those different disciplines in the program. So I would say just embrace whatever discipline you might be coming from, or any diversity of thought you might be you think you might be bringing to the program, because it is really valuable. Or even if it is just conventional CS or technical skills, of course that's going to be valued too. So yeah.
Thank you.
For the statement of purpose, writing it, I kind of thought of it in 2 parts when I was doing it. The first part was just what has led me to this application and to this point. And kind of what Arthur said, it's narrative building. So it's not just listing reasons. I try to make it more chronological and kind of sell myself as well at the same time in that section. And then the other half of the essay, I focused on what I wanted from the program, like what my ideal outcome would be, and how kind of NYU is the only school that can make this possible, and just have that like mentality. And then when you write that second half, it will like tie in why the school, and then like why the school can help me with the outcome.
Perfect. Yeah, totally agree with all of that. I'm a graduate student, not, in data science, but I think what I have also seen just on my own personal side is that you really just want to share like your own personal touch to it, and what specifically about data science you're interested in, not just saying like, oh, this is a, growing field, blah, blah, blah. And I want to be a part of that. Like you want to go in a little bit deeper and explain your own connection to that. Okay, so I think I don't really see any other questions in here. So I think that was the most probably common inquiry. So I want to thank you all for joining today. I really, really appreciate you students taking out the time. I know it's still midterm season and things are pretty crazy, but appreciate you sparing some time for today. We'll move on with just answering some of the other general questions that are coming up in the Q&A, but you are free to go, or free to stay if you'd like, but you're free to go. And I'll touch base with all of you again after this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good luck,
you.
guys.
And like everyone.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so I think we have a couple more slides, right, Tina?
Just one more, actually.
Yeah, okay, one more. Okay, awesome. All right, there we go. So yeah, you'll be able to find a majority of the answers to your questions on our website. We're still going to go through and answer what some of the things that you guys in the audience have touched on here. But just be mindful that a lot of the times your questions will be available either on the admissions requirements page on the CDS website. We also have an FAQ page that answers a lot of questions about applications. And then our application admissions process is under NYU Graduate School of Arts and Science. And they also have a page specifically on more general application questions. So questions like, I have a 3-year degree, am I eligible? Sometimes those questions will actually be answered on there, as well as questions about what is required for the application. So make sure to check those pages out. And then if you'd find that you have any unanswered questions, then you can email us at cds-admissions@nyu.edu. And we also have our social media pages, so be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram to see what is going on here at CDS with our students, our faculty, and other programs that we have available. So I will just run through a few, and Tina, feel free to jump in if you'd like. But